Hello everyone, I'm Sabiha, a Gold Microsoft Student Partner, and in today's session you're going to learn about MakeCode Arcade and how you can create games right in your browser. By the end of this session, you will have a game that you can share with your friends and family. So let's get started. Little about me, I am a Gold Microsoft Student Partner and also a final year student studying computer science. I run a Women in Tech Club on campus where we've conducted over 10 plus sessions to reach out to young students and women in the community. Apart from that, I love writing and working on projects related to social good. So let's get started and see what exactly is MakeCode and how can you begin creating games. So MakeCode is actually a free open source platform that allows you to create games by using a drag and drop approach or by using JavaScript. So if you want to follow along with the session right now, you can go ahead to makecode.com and click the button that says Arcade. Once you do that, you're taken to the MakeCode Arcade homepage. So here there are a lot of things going on. So let's take a look at what exactly do you need to know. So you have a huge plus button. That's where you create a new blank project. Below that is step-by-step tutorials. So if you've never ever even programmed before, don't worry. These tutorials are very easy to follow along and you can just click on them and follow along with the hints that are shown. If you're looking for inspiration for your games, there are plenty of examples. So you have these game examples which are created by the MakeCode team, as well as some from the community. The game that we're going to be creating today is called as Eat the Fruit. Here you have a main character that just goes around and collects as many fruits as possible. You can also see that at the top left corner, there is a score. On the top right corner, there's a score, and on the top, you have a countdown. So when the countdown runs out, the game is over. So this looks like a pretty exciting game, don't you think? Let's go ahead to MakeCode Arcade and begin creating this game. So this is the MakeCode Arcade homepage, and we're going to click on New Project. So you can give your project any name. So I'm going to call this MS Build Game. I'm going to create it. You can also directly go to this homepage by typing in arcade.makecode.com. So right now, the project has loaded. But there are a lot of things here as well. So let's go over the three main sections that you need to know to get started. On the leftmost side, you have the game simulator. Here, whatever you create is going to show up and you can play it directly in your browser. You can use the joystick that is here, or you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move along your character. Next to it, you see a block toolbox. Here are any blocks you might need for creating your game. So let's see how can you actually use these blocks. So say I wanted to add music to my game. I click on the category that says music. This opens up many more blocks that you could use in your code. If you want to use a block, just select it, drag it onto this canvas, and you can place it somewhere inside start and so on. But right now we don't need this. So to delete a block, just select it and drop it right here on the red area. That deletes your block. The last thing you need to know is on the right-hand side where we just dragged the block, that's the programming workspace. And that's where you're going to be spending most of your time. So you're going to be creating the logic of your game on this side. So let's get started. Right now, we see that our game simulator is quite blank and we want it to look colorful. So how can we do this? We're going to go to the program, the blocks that are available, click on Scene, and you see a block that says Set Background Color. So I'm going to select this, just drag it and drop inside the OnStart block. Then I'm going to click this over right here and a bunch of colors show up. I think this pink color looks pretty good, so I'm going to click on that. Right when I do that, you can see the game simulator shows the pink color on the screen. Remember that anything you put inside the OnStart block runs when the program first starts. So let's say you do not know what the blocks actually does. There's one quick way you can find out. Just hover over any block that you don't know what the function is, and it will show you a short hint text. So here it shows runs the code when the program starts. Now we need our character. So in game development, our character is represented by a sprite. A sprite is actually like a 2D graphic that you can use to represent your character and other items in your game. So as you may have guessed it, you can put in a character by going to the sprite category. you can see a block that says set my sprite to. So select this block and drag it below the previous one. Now we need to actually design our sprite. So click on this gray area. This will open up the pixel editor. So you can see it looks very similar to Paint, but there are more pixels here on screen. So how can you actually design your character? Well, pick some of the tools that are available here. So I'm going to pick this color, this tool, and pick this color, and I'm going to create my character for the game. So let's just go ahead and just make a small face for our character. And let's make a neck. And you can also actually use the rectangle tool to make a nice shirt for your character. And you can use the fill tool to fill in. And there are many tools that you can use, which are very easy to use as well. So we're just going to quickly create a small character. So these are the hair of the character. And let's give our character 2 eyes. There we go. I think it looks pretty good. So I'm going to press done. So now you can see we have a background and we have our character. So let's try to move our character. You can use the joystick right here, but it's not really moving. So the game's not really fun if you can't move your character, right? So let's go ahead to the controller tab. Here is how you can set the motion for your character. Select the block that says Move My Sprite with buttons and drag it towards the end. As soon as you do that, you can now use the arrow keys on your keyboard or the joystick right here to move along your character. You see that if I go too much to the left or too much to the right, the character tends to go off screen, and we don't want that. Again, to fix this, go to the Sprites tab and scroll down till you see a block that says Set My Sprite to Stay in Screen, and just drag and drop right there and turn this toggle to on. As soon as I do that, now if I try to go outside the screen, it won't let me. So this looks like a pretty good game already, but we don't want just this simple character running around. What we want are fruits and score and countdown. Now, how do you know where exactly a block is? So suppose you want the score block. How do you know without having to click all of these different sections? Well, there's one easy way you can find out. You see the search box right here? Let's say I don't know where the score block is. How do I find out? I just type in score right here, and this shows me all the blocks related to score. The one that I need is set score to 0. This is because initially when the user starts the game, I want to set the score to 0. So just select the block and drop it at the bottom. Similarly, I need a countdown. So I'm going to select again a countdown, and I'm going to drag this towards the bottom. Now you can see that the screen shows a countdown and a score, but we don't really have anything for the user to collect. So our next step is to add something for the user to collect. So in this game, we want to add some fruits for the user to collect. To create some space on your workspace, you can just use this little scroll bar at the bottom and scroll towards the right side to get some space for your blocks. Next, let's go ahead to game. Here, you're going to drag this block that says on game update every 500 milliseconds. Place it onto the canvas. You need another block, which we're going to add and then discuss what it does. So go to the Sprites category. Scroll down till you see a heading called projectiles and select the block that says set projectile to and drop it inside this purple block. So what's happening here? The purple block is actually whatever you put inside this updates every 500 milliseconds. Now, why do we want to put it to update every 500 milliseconds? This is because we want the fruits to keep generating again and again. It's not a fun game if the fruit just generates once and the user collects it. So that's why we put it inside this block to make it generate again and again. Now we want to actually design the fruit. So you remember how we designed the player right here? We just clicked on the gray box right here. Just like that, we click on the gray box right here. So click and you can see the pixel editor that you just saw a few minutes ago. But this time I don't want to design my fruit. So I'm going to click on this tab right here that shows gallery. And this has so many different pixel options that I can choose. These are provided by the MakeCode team, so you can quickly make your game without even having to design a sprite. So I like this apple right here, so I'm going to click that. But let's customize this a little bit. So you can do that as well. So I'm going to add a cute smiley face on my apple. I think that looks good. So let's press done. And let's see how our game looks. So you can click play here. And you can see that the smiley apple is going across the screen. But that's not what we want, right? We don't want it to just keep going in a same uniform direction. So to understand how you can change that, you need to understand these Vx and Vy values. Vx is the velocity in the x direction. So it's something like left to right. If you have positive 50, it moves your sprite from left to right. Vy is the velocity in the y direction. So it's going to move your sprite from top to bottom. Right now, when we first saw how we wanted our game to look like, we wanted our apple to move from the left to the right. So we don't really need a y value. So we're going to get rid of the 100 and change it to 0. Let's run it once more to see what's going on. Okay, so now we see apples are moving from the left to the right. But our apple's entire face is not being seen. And we don't like that. We want it to kind of be available everywhere on the screen, so randomly just spawn out. To do that, first go to Sprites. Grab the block that says set my sprite position to. So with this, I can set the position of this particular apple sprite. You need to change this drop-down where you see set my sprite to set projectile. The reason we do this is because we want the position of the apple to change and not my original sprite. So one more thing you need to know is that the MakeCode screen is of the size 160 in width and 120 in height. Why do you need to know this? Because you need to make sure that the sprite that you are putting always remains on screen. So let's actually just play around with this XY values and see what's going on. So I'm going to click X here, and I am going to just choose a random value. So this opens up the coordinate pane where you can choose a random value. So if I do that and just press play, I can see my apples are generating from this random point which I just chose. But they're all again generating in a straight line. To fix that, can you guess which of these categories is going to have the math random function? You can just type it in the chat where you think the random function would lie. So yes, the math function has the random block. So if you scroll down, you can see this pick random block, which you can grab and place in the Y. Now, since we want these apples to generate across different heights, so we want one next to the user, one at the top, and so on. So we're just going to change this 0 to 120 and change our X to 0. So this varies the values of Y, and the X doesn't really vary right here. Let's play it again. Okay, so now we have a bunch of smiley fruits that are moving across the screen. And we have our character as well. We're almost done, but we still don't have any feature that adds the score to the user. So that's our last block. So to implement that, we are going to go to Sprites. Then we're going to scroll down. So if you're ever wondering where a particular block lies, there are also these very helpful headings where you can check under. So I'm thinking about something that should overlap with something else. So I'm going to search for the heading that says overlaps. So I found the heading that says overlaps, and the first block here that's on sprite of kind overlaps is the block that I need. Again, to use a block in a workspace, just select it, drag, and you have it on the canvas. Now you need to make sure that the first block that you have is of player and the second one is of projectile. So just click on this little drop down and select projectile. Here the projectile refers to your apple and the player refers to your character. So what do you want it to do when it overlaps? You want the score to increase. So do you remember where our score was? Our score was in our info category. If you go there, you can now see a block that says change score by 1. So just select, drag and drop. And there you have the change by score. So let's just run it. Running it at each step is a great way to know what's going on with your program. And if you ever are facing any issues, you'll know immediately. So just click start and we're going to try to see what happens. Okay, so now we see that our score is increasing, but we can see that the character can make use of that particular sprite multiple times. So we want that apple to delete as soon as the character touches it. So again, since it's related to sprites, it's going to be in the sprites category. Scroll down till you find a block that says destroy, because we want to destroy the apple as soon as the user touches it. And here, you need to make sure to delete this my sprite, and instead you need to use the other sprite. So just copy from here. So you can copy by just dragging this particular block and placing it right here. And you can now take a look at how it is. So now, when the user touches an apple, it disappears. But this still can use a lot of improvement. Let's see if we can add in some effect when the user touches it. So click on the plus, and you can see that there's a drop down here with so many different effects. There's confetti, hearts, and maybe we want confetti to show up when a user touches the apple. So let's say confetti, and let's set the effect for 100 milliseconds. Let's run it now. Great. So now you can see confetti showing up whenever you're eating the apple. Next, let's see if we can add in some music. So click on the music tab, and you can see there's so many different options for blocks. We're going to choose the option that says play sound, and just select and drop right here. And here again, there are a list of different sound effects that you could choose. So I'll choose magic wand. And when you actually do that and you try to play the game, you can hear the music. I don't think you can hear it right now because of the audio, but this is a great way. You should always make sure to test whichever block you put in. So these are just few of the blocks, but there are so many different blocks as you can see on the block toolbox. So some of the additional changes that you could make to this game is maybe adding in other fruits. You could add in strawberries, or you could add in sad strawberries. You could put in different points, like maybe eating a sad strawberry would reduce a point by -2. You could add in so many changes like that. You can also change the direction of the apples. So you want them to move from the right to the left. You can also do that by playing around with the Vx and Vy values. Now, you might be thinking, I made this game, but I want my friend to play it. How do I do that? Well, with MakeCode platform, it's very easy. Click on the share button at the top left corner. This is going to open up the share project menu. You can give it a name. You can take a screenshot of the game, or you could record a GIF, and you can click publish. When you do that, it generates a URL, and this you can just share with anyone. They could open it on their laptop, on their phones, and just play your game. You might be thinking, well, this is cool and all, but are there other ways that I could play the game? Yes, you can. So there are things called as the MakeCode Arcade hardware, and these are hardware devices where you can actually run your game on. So you could run it on a Neobit or Adafruit Pi Gamer, and you could give it to your friends as well. With MakeCode, you can make multiplayer games, and after creating a game, you could maybe play with your friend, which is a great thing to do. Additionally, if you want to create some retro-looking arcade cabinets, you can also do that. With using your arcade hardware, some cardboard or wood, you could create arcade cabinets that look like in the pictures. If you're a teacher, you could try to create this in a classroom so that your students can play. And the best part, I hope that you're excited about the MakeCode platform, and the learning really doesn't stop here. To learn more and learn more advanced concepts, you can head to the link that's shown right here. It has video playlists which are on a wide array of topics, So you could check out Arcade, but you can also check out Minecraft and Microbit. And there are also daily and weekly streams which you can tune into to learn more about MakeCode. Here are some additional links. If you want to learn about computer science concepts along with playing around with MakeCode, the Arcade curriculum is a great way to do that. You learn about algorithms, you learn about loops, variables, which are all great concepts to have knowledge of. If you're ever stuck on creating a program and you don't know what to do and you don't really have anyone to ask, you can head to the MakeCode forum. Here there are plenty of people who are very happy to help you. Finally, I hope this session was good, and you can leave out an anonymous response to how the session was. So there is a link right at the top of the screen where you can enter in the session code and select what you thought about the session. Additionally, if you're a student and you're looking for opportunities, the Imagine Cup is a great way that you could learn more about different technologies as well as apply your knowledge on them. You can also check out the Microsoft Learn for Students and Azure for Students, which are places where you can actually try out the Microsoft technologies with interactive modules and paths. Finally, there's the Microsoft Student Learn Ambassadors Program, which is a group of on-campus leaders who are eager to help students. As a Microsoft student partner myself, my journey into computer science was amazing. So initially, I never knew about what computer science was or how I could create games. But when I joined this community, I got to learn so much from other students, and I learned about how they were giving back to the community, and all this was such a great experience for me. I started attending conferences such as these, and I was able to get a lot of knowledge. And so just by being here and sitting on in this 30-minute session, you're taking your first steps to programming. You can always reach out if you have any questions to me on any of my social medias. If you made a game during today's session or you want to make one after this, you can always tag me so I can check out the amazing games that you made. If you felt the session was a little too fast for you, you can check out the YouTube channel where I have created a recap of this session as well. And I'll be continuing to upload more MakeCode tutorials. Thank you. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to add them in the chat.
I believe we have a couple of minutes for Q&A, so if you got any questions right now, I'm sure Sabia will be happy to answer them. I believe there's some question there, Sabia, about how the apples are moving in the X direction. Are you able to explain that again?
Sure. So if I'll just shift to the screen so that you could see it live. So basically, when you set a Vx value as 50, which is a positive value, it makes it move from the left side to the right side. So in order to actually see how it works, let's say I'll just change this to -50, and let's see what is happening here now. So now you see the apples are kind of moving off screen. So when you set it to +50, it kind of moves from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. When you set it to negative, it's going to move from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. And Vx is basically the velocity in the X direction. So when you have the coordinate system, the X is the horizontal axis.
Also, I just want to remind everyone to fill out the survey for this session. Don't think we... Oh yeah, how do we add a lifeline to our character? Is that something you can explain?
Yeah, sure. So in one of the info blocks, if you just check out the info category, you have a block that is called life. So you can drag that block that says set life. So you can just drag it onto anywhere in your game. And it is you can use that to set your live. So it's going to show up at the top.
We have a question coming through here about is there a porting guide for new hardware platforms? Is that something you know anything about?
I'm sure there are ways, like you can check out about connection with the hardware devices. If you just click on like the question mark here, they have links directly to the hardware site and the docs and the forum. So I'm sure you would be able to find something right there.
I think there was a question also if you're able to use the blocks and JavaScript at the same time, or if you have to choose one and kind of stick with it.
No, you can definitely use the blocks and JavaScript together. So if right now we made the entire game in blocks, but if you switch to the JavaScript tab, it's going to show you all the blocks in JavaScript. So it's going to be like JavaScript line of code. So you can definitely, like, if you want to tweak it in more advanced ways, JavaScript is the way to go. We also have a session after this where they're going to be discussing about modding with JavaScript. So you can check that out. But yeah, you can use both of them together.
There's a question here about if it's possible to create a dialogue where you can prompt the user for information. Would that be possible?
Yeah, so there are options to create dialogue. So you can just search for dialogue and it's going to show you all the different blocks that are related to dialogue. So you can create that as well.
So there was a question here if you can use other languages other than blocks. I believe JavaScript is one supported. Have you heard of any other languages?
For the MakeCode Arcade, we just have blocks and JavaScript. But if you're using MakeCode with Minecraft, you could play along with Python as well.
There you heard it, folks. You can use Python as well if you use Minecraft. Can I import my own character designs?
Actually, you cannot do that. So with the pixel editor, you can only design your character and you can choose amongst the gallery which is available. So yeah, so there's that limitation, but we always encourage you to design your own character. That makes the game more fun.
Don't believe there are any more questions. There are a lot of kudos though. I'm very happy with this presentation. One question here is if you can import files if we already have a project, I guess?
Yeah, you can definitely do that. So I'll just show you a quick way you can do that. So when you're in your project view, you can click on the save button at the bottom. This actually saves your project. So if you want to now import this particular project, you could head back to the home screen and there's a button right here that shows you import. So click on that and you can just drag this particular file to import it. But the other way you can also do this is use the import URL. So the URL you created when you shared the game, you can also use that to import a project.
Here's a question about whether it's possible to embed it in a web application.
I believe you can, but you would have to check the documentation to learn more about that.
Right. Do you have any recommendations of where people who want to learn more, what's the next step after this platform?
Yeah, sure. So once you get started with block coding and you have some information about what loops are and what variables are, the great next step would be to go along JavaScript, try to mod your game using actual code. And so that way you would be able to get some knowledge about JavaScript as well. But if you find JavaScript a little bit difficult, you can always check out the MakeCode with Minecraft, which allows you to use Python. And Python is a great first language to learn. So if you never delved into programming, you would easily be able to follow along with Python.
And we are at time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.